What's up everybody, Commander Sanctum here, and today we have a brand new deck tech using Avatar Roku Firebender. Roku is a 6/6 human avatar for 3 and 3 red that has, whenever a player attacks, add 6 red mana until the end of combat, and, pay 3 red, target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn. Roku pretty much has Firebending on steroids. The fact that it triggers whenever a player attacks, meaning it counts your opponents, and doesn't even require Roku to be the attacker, is pretty crazy. The fact that you can pump a creature with the red mana is also nice, really completing the whole Firebending package. For this deck tech, we'll be honing in on this theme, Firebending. We'll be using pretty much all the Firebending cards we have access to really generate as much mana during combat as we can. While we can use this mana for Roku's fire breathing ability, we'll also include a number of combat tricks in the form of flashable artifacts and enchantments, as well as instant-based removal and card draw, to really maximize the mana we'll be generating. With that, let's get into the card highlights. To start out with our Firebending cards, we'll look at a few legendary creatures. We have 2 Zuko creature cards in Zuko Firebending Master and Zuko Exiled Prince, the former of which gets better and better the more spells you cast in combat, while the latter has its own activated ability to use the mana with, giving you some card advantage in the form of impulse draw. There's also Iroh Dragon of the West, which, while not having Firebending himself, gives every creature with a counter on it Firebending too. He can enable this himself with his Mentor ability, but the absolute best part about this is that Firebending stacks. So if a creature naturally has Firebending 1, for instance, if you target it with Iroh's ability, it'll have both Firebending 1 and Firebending 2, giving you a total of 3 red mana when it attacks. Ran and Shaw is another legendary creature that has Firebending. Unfortunately, its other abilities really won't help us much, since we're not focused on dragons or lessons, and activating Roku's ability will be more mana efficient than its, but it's still a great way to generate some extra mana, while also having a nice 4/4 flyer to boot. Zhang the Deserter has an exhaust ability that'll put a +1/+1 counter on him and copy the next lesson spell you cast that turn. The lesson ability can be useful in some situations, but one nice thing is how well the counter addition works with the Iroh we saw previously, making a nice little synergy between these two legendaries. For non-legendary creatures, we have Firebending Student, which not only has a variable Firebending number, but also has prowess, letting us really pump up its power to get the most mana out of it. The best part is that its Firebending number is determined on resolution. This means that, if we have all Firebending abilities go to the stack and let the others resolve first, we'll get mana that we can then use to cast spells before the student's Firebending resolves, giving it prowess triggers and thus pumping up its power before it's checked for its Firebending ability. Loyal Firesage can be a nice mana sink if we don't have anything else to really use our Firebending mana for, giving us a 1/1 ally token, albeit for a pretty steep cost of 5 mana. Fire Sages also has a good mana sink, even better I'd say, as it puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature for 3 mana. Again, this is another Firebender that synergizes well with Iroh, making it a great addition to the deck. There are also a number of non-creatures that give us some sort of Firebending effect. The Legend of Roku itself doesn't have any sort of Firebending mechanic, but its flip side, Avatar Roku, has an absolutely phenomenal one, since it's a massive Firebending 4, and even has an activated ability that lets you create 4/4 dragons with Firebending 4. Honestly, even though this activated ability costs 8 mana, this is far too good to pass up, especially since those dragons created have Firebending themselves, letting you exponentially get more dragons out if Roku isn't dealt with. Firebender Ascension is a great Firebending card, since not only does it create a 2/2 Firebending 1 token when it enters, but it eventually doubles all Firebending abilities once it has enough counters on it. This means that, if it's active, attacking with a creature like Avatar Roku will net us 8 whole red mana, exactly what we need to create the dragon. Fire Nation Turret is the Firebending equivalent of Aetherflux Reservoir. Being able to pump that unused mana into it and laser beaming someone for 50 once it has enough counters is a great way to end a game. Not only that, but it even gives a creature Firebending 2 during combat, making it probably one of the best cards we'll have access to, especially if it isn't dealt with quickly. Wrapping up the Firebending cards, we have another creature in Rough Rhino Cavalry, with another exhaust ability that adds counters to it when activated. It's pretty costly for what it does, 8 mana for 2 counters and trample, but it can still be a great outlet if you need to sink extra mana into something. Fire Nation Attacks creates 2 2/2 tokens with Firebending 1, adding to our overall Firebending counter tremendously. It even has flashback and, since it's an instant, means it can be flashback during combat, making it a great option for mana usage. Finally, Sozin's Comet is probably the coolest and most thematic Firebending card, giving all your creatures a whopping Firebending 5 until end of turn. Seriously, for a small 5 mana, this is an absolutely phenomenal way to generate a ton of mana all at once, really enabling our mana sinks like Fire Nation Turret or Avatar Roku. For additional things to spend our firebending mana on, we have some great equipments that have flash, meaning we can cast them during combat to get some more damage in, or to better block. Embercleave is probably the best and most well-known one, giving a creature +1/+1, double strike, and trample for a potentially small amount of 2 mana, depending on how many creatures are attacking. Twin Blades is similar, giving a creature +1/+1 and double strike the turn it enters, while Hidden Blade will really only give our creatures +1/+0 and first strike, since we don't have any assassins in the deck. The most important thing about these, and the other artifacts we're using, is that they auto-equip when they enter. This is the main reason why we can use them as combat tricks with firebending mana, since they otherwise wouldn't do anything for that particular combat. There's also a kind of cycle of 1 mana flash equipments that we can use as well. Mirran Banesplitter and Dueling Rapier are 2 examples, both of which enter auto-equipped and give the creature +2/+0. Coral Sword only gives the creature +1/+0, but also gives it first strike when it enters as well, making a great post-blocker cast to kill off an opponent's creature while saving your own. For some more defensive equipment, we have Mithril Coat, which gives you equipped creature indestructible and has the same flash auto-equip clause as the others. It does only auto-equip to legendary creatures, however, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem, since our best firebenders really are the legendary ones. Silver Shroud Costume enters and gives the creature Shroud temporarily, making it a great response to targeted removal, especially if it's cast after you've attacked. While the Shroud eventually goes away, the equipment gives the creature a permanent unblockable buff, also pairing very well with our whole theme of attacking with our creatures every time to trigger their firebending. There are also a pair of enchantments that have flash that will help us do more damage when our creatures hit. Dictate of the Twin Gods is an old school damage doubler that we can use to achieve this. Just remember that the damage doubling is for everything and everyone, not just you, so be careful when you throw this out. Faded Firepower is a great card that works perfectly with our firebending theme, since you can pump as much mana into it as you want to increase the damage of each source you control by that amount. This card is going to be a great finisher. Attacking with a ton of firebenders, waiting for your opponents to block, or hopefully not block, and then casting this with all the mana you have access to is going to seriously RKO someone out of nowhere. To help maximize our firebending capabilities, we can also use spells that give us additional combats. Great Train Heist is a modular spell that can not only give us an additional combat, but also pump up our creatures and give us some treasure tokens, making it a great option for many different scenarios. Savage Beating is also modular, letting you give creatures double strike or give you an additional combat, or, even better, both. Hellkite Charger can technically go infinite in this deck if you have enough mana being generated from firebending, making it an absolutely phenomenal card that synergizes very well with the deck. It's not even what I'd call an oppressive combo, since it takes quite a bit of setup, making it a nice option even for more casual tables. There may be times where we really don't want to spend the firebending mana on anything and would rather keep it instead. While the mana normally goes away at the end of combat, we can use cards that specifically make it so red mana doesn't empty from your mana pool unless you use it. For this, we have Electro Assaulting Battery, Leyline Tyrant, and Ashling Flame Dancer, all of which have the clause that state red mana doesn't disappear. Electro and Ashling can even generate mana for us with their abilities, albeit they both specifically require casting instants and sorceries. While that's not a focus of our deck, most decks will naturally have a number of these card types, making them great supplemental mana generators. Leyline Tyrant and Electro can both, effectively, explode when they die, dealing damage equal to the amount of mana you want to pay. Again, these 2 abilities can potentially end someone on the spot, so they shouldn't be discounted. Card draw is one of the most powerful things you can do in Magic, so why not use them as mana sinks as well? We'll need instants to do this, but thankfully, there are a number of great options in red. My favorite cycle of card draw in red is represented in Unexpected Windfall, giving you 2 cards and even 2 treasure tokens, all for the cost of discarding a card and 4 mana. Commune with Lava lets you impulse draw a variable number of cards depending on how much mana you pump into it. Honestly, the best part of this is that you can use solely firebending mana to cast this, freeing up your real mana to actually cast the spells you get from it. There's also Valakut Awakening, which is a nice MDFC card that can act as a land if you need it, or a great wheel spell that, again, can be cast using firebending mana. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that don't agree with these next cards, and that's fine, but honestly, I would consider these some of my pet cards that'll always go in my mono red decks. The primary one of which being Blood Moon, something that turns all non-basic lands into mountains. I personally don't agree that Blood Moon should count as mass land destruction, since it doesn't actually destroy any lands and just changes its properties, so we'll absolutely be putting this into mono red decks for its utility. Just keep in mind that putting Blood Moon specifically in the deck will make it automatically bracket 4, so it may be a card you'll want to keep out if that's something you care about. Zhao the Moonslayer is a new card that can do the same thing, but costs quite a bit of extra mana to do so. Since this is a Firebending deck, the 7 mana it'll cost to turn him into a Blood Moon won't be as bad as normal, making it an excellent addition. Honestly, if you're only going to put one of these cards into the deck, Zhao is likely going to be your best bet, both from a bracket perspective and a stigma one. Finally, we have a number of utility cards that work well with our overall themes. Since we'll be attacking consistently to get the Firebending triggers, Dolmen Gate is a great way to protect our creatures from dying, especially the smaller or less powerful ones we'll have naturally. War Cadence can also help with this, acting as a variable Ghostly Prison type of effect, forcing our opponents to pay mana equal to how much we pump into it. This synergizes very well with Firebending, especially when you're trying to end the game, since you can pump all your Firebending mana into it to make your creatures effectively unblockable, draining the rest of your opponent's life with combat damage. Pyrohemia can be another great mana sink for Firebending mana, albeit one that will likely kill all of your Firebenders as well. Still, it makes for a great finisher for when your opponents are already at a low life and you want to end them all in one fell swoop. Chandra's Ignition can also act as a board wipe or player ender, especially when paired with Roku's Fire Breathing ability. Using Firebender mana to pump a creature up with Roku's ability, to then cast this in your second main phase, is a great way to end the game, or at least do some serious damage to your opponents and their creatures. Comet Storm is another great way to take an opponent or 3 out of the game, since you can use the Firebending mana itself to add to its damage. Needless to say, there are a plethora of ways to end the game with damage that only gets better with the extra mana Firebending provides. Here's an example deck list utilizing all the previously mentioned cards. Additional cards include more utility-style card draw in Endless Atlas and Thrill a Possibility, another 1-mana flash artifact in Hidden Footblade, and instant-based removal in Untimely Malfunction and Chaos Warp. Avatar Roku is such a sweet commander. I love that he has super Firebending, even activating on opponents' turns whenever they attack. Honestly, that combined with his Fire Breathing activated ability makes him a really great combat-based commander. Not only can he attack well, he can also help you block, since if you're attacked by an opponent, you'll get 6 mana that can then be used to pump a creature's power by 6 with his ability. Not only that, but it's a great political card, as you can promise to pump one of your opponent's creatures if they agree to not attack you. Honestly, Roku is just a sweet all-around card that has quite a bit of implications in a game. Now, for the strategy. I personally love the Firebending mechanic from the Avatar set, so as soon as I saw Roku and his abilities, I knew that I was going to make him as a thematic Firebending deck. Is this the best way to build him? Potentially not. I mean, with his ability to give you extra mana, he's an absolutely great big mana commander, of which Red is very good at abusing. Extra mana also means the ability to more efficiently sling spells, making him a great spellslinger commander as well. Honestly, there's so many ways to go about building him that the sky's really the limit with what sort of strategy you want to do. Personally, I prefer this build, as it makes a more unique and fun commander deck than anything else, even if it also happens to have Blood Moon in it. What can I say? Blood Moon is pretty much my favorite mono red card, and love to put it in all of my decks that fall in this category. Regardless, if you also love the Firebending mechanic as much as I do, or just want a more unique twist on a commander, try out this Avatar Roku deck. I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. I hope you enjoyed watching this deck tech on Avatar Roku Firebender. The full deck list outline in this video can be found at the Archedeck link at the top of the description. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like and comment, as well as subscribe to the channel for more Magic content. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.